Long before the first sunrise, a silent kingdom already waited beneath the world, a place untouched by warmth, ruled by a goddess whose power did not depend on worship or war. Her throne stood in darkness, unmoving, unchallenged, a reminder that every life ends where her rule begins. She was the first queen the cosmos ever knew, and even the gods feared the weight of her name. Who was Ereshkigal, the sovereign of the land no one returns from? Welcome back to Legends Reborn, and thank you for the overwhelming support on these journeys into the forgotten depths of ancient myth. Your reactions to the darker stories of the divine feminine have shaped this series in ways I never expected, and tonight we travel even further into that shadowed lineage. This time, our path leads into a realm older than heaven itself, a place where silence holds authority, and every soul, god or mortal, must one day pass. Tonight, we explore the full legend of Ereshkigal, the queen who reigns where all stories end. If you enjoy these deep dives into the ancient and the unseen, feel free to subscribe and join this growing community. Your presence keeps these legends alive. Now, let us descend. Long before the earliest hymns were carved into clay, the people of ancient Sumer spoke of a realm beneath all others, a place not of fire or chaos, but of stillness. They imagined it as a vast, weighty expanse where breath moved slowly, and where the world above felt distant, almost forgotten. This realm had a name whispered with caution, Kur, later called Irkalla. And at its center, on a throne that no other deity dared approach, sat Ereshkigal. Her story begins not with violence or ambition, but with necessity. In the oldest Sumerian layers, she is not depicted as a monster or a spirit cast down. She is simply the one who governs the place where the living cannot follow. While gods of sky and storm shaped the world above, she shaped the order beneath it. The dead needed a keeper. The boundaries between life and silence needed a guardian who would not bend. And so, she became the one presence the cosmos relied on, without ever fully acknowledging it. She was not feared because she was cruel. She was feared because she was inevitable. Her realm was not a prison, nor a battlefield, nor a place of punishment. It was the destination all things eventually reached: kings and shepherds, warriors and midwives. In a world where gods competed for temples and offerings, she ruled a kingdom that never needed to fight for loyalty. Every soul belonged to her in the end. Within these early myths, her court slowly formed around her. Messengers and spirits carried out her judgment, yet even they moved with the gravity of beings who understood the weight of serving a queen no one could escape. Her most trusted attendant, Namtar, acted as her voice, a reminder that the underworld had structure, law, and rhythm, not chaos. But even with these figures around her, Ereshkigal remained solitary. The upper world lived in movement and noise. Her throne existed in quiet endurance. Above her, her sister walked in the sunlight. Inanna ruled the vibrancy of life, harvest, desire, the pulse of cities, the rising of kings. And Ereshkigal ruled what waited beneath all of that. The contrast became part of their cosmic identity, though neither myth paints them as enemies by nature. They were forces arranged on opposite sides of creation, their roles defined not by rivalry, but by the balance they unwillingly shared. And yet, the world remembers the day that balance was tested, the day a goddess of the sky tried to cross into the realm she was never meant to stand in. Long before that famous descent, however, Ereshkigal's underworld had already taken form. Its 7 gates had been established, each representing a boundary that separated the living from the dead. Beyond them stretched a land without sun, without wind, without the shifting seasons of the world above. The Sumerians imagined the dead moving like faint echoes through this place, sustained only by offerings made in their name. She oversaw every movement, every judgment, every arrival. There is a quiet tragedy woven through her earliest stories, not stated directly, but present in the tone of the old texts. While other deities feasted, celebrated, and traveled freely, she remained bound to her throne. She could not join the gatherings of the gods. She could not walk among the living. Her kingdom required her, and it did not release what it claimed. Even the later myths hint at this loneliness, suggesting that her isolation shaped both her strength and her severity. The Queen of the Dead was powerful, but her power came at the price of eternal separation. When Inanna eventually descended, a moment we touched on in earlier episodes, Ereshkigal did not lash out in jealousy or spite. She upheld the ancient laws that even the gods had to obey. No living goddess could stand in the realm of the dead without surrendering everything that tied her to the world above. The descent was a ritual of unmaking, not a punishment. Ereshkigal simply enforced what had always been true. No one enters her kingdom unchanged. For viewers who want the full story of that descent, I've covered it in detail in a previous episode, but here the important truth is this. Ereshkigal is not portrayed as a villain in these early texts. She is a force of balance, bound by cosmic duty, carrying the burden of a realm that never sleeps. Her myth deepened over time. New interpretations arose, including an early scholarly belief that she had been taken into the underworld by a primordial beast named Kur. But more recent readings of the same tablet suggest something far less dramatic, that this scene may describe the moment she was assigned her domain, not dragged into it. Like many ancient stories, the truth is fractured. Multiple traditions coexist, none complete, each offering a different reflection of who she might have been. What remains constant is this: Ereshkigal is the anchor of an entire cosmology. Without her, life would have no opposite. Without her, the world would have no end. As Mesopotamian culture evolved, her name carried through Akkadian, Babylonian, and Assyrian traditions. Her authority only grew. Later texts describe her not simply as a queen, but as the supreme ruler of all forces connected to death, shadow, and the quiet earth beneath our feet. She became the counterweight to every god who sought glory above. And while other deities shifted with the rise and fall of empires, she remained unchanged, steady, silent, eternal. This is the world she ruled before any marriage myth, before any confrontation with the gods of war, before the stories tried to fit her into a role more comfortable for the living. This is the Ereshkigal of the earliest age, a queen who did not choose her throne, but whose throne defined the fate of all creation. As the centuries unfolded, new stories emerged around the Queen of the Great Below, stories shaped not by her own voice, but by the shifting fears and desires of the cultures that inherited her name. Some spoke of a consort beside her, a figure known as Gugalana, the Bull of Heaven. His presence appears in fragments, never fully defined, sometimes described as a partner, sometimes as a title linked to the underworld itself. Whatever his role, it never eclipsed hers. Ereshkigal remained the one constant force in a realm that consumed all others. Later, a new myth rose, one that carried her into a tale involving the god of war and plague, Nergal. There are two surviving versions, both bending in different directions, yet both revealing the same truth. No matter who entered her domain, the underworld still belonged to her. In one tradition, Nergal stormed through the seven gates with a force that belonged to the living, not the dead. His power pushed through each threshold until he stood before her throne. The story describes a moment of confrontation, a clash between a restless god and the queen, who had never taken a single step beyond her boundaries. Yet, even as the narrative shifts toward him, the weight of the scene belongs to her. For Nergal's strength in the underworld depended entirely on her permission, or her surrender. Another version tells a quieter story. In that account, Nergal stayed with her for 6 nights, then fled to the world above in fear of what their union might mean. But Ereshkigal's demand for his return carried a gravity no god could refuse. The myth ends not with her conquered, but with the two deities reunited, sharing the throne of Irkalla. Even then, her rule remained the foundation. Nergal was not the master of the dead. He was the one who joined their queen. These tales reveal something often overlooked. Ereshkigal was never powerless. She did not need to win battles to assert her dominion. The underworld itself was her strength. and every god who entered it eventually recognized that truth. Across Mesopotamia, the world above worshipped goddesses of fertility, passion, and war, yet these luminous figures often stood in tension with the darker forces beneath them. Inanna and later Ishtar ruled the living with radiance and ambition. Ereshkigal governed the silence that followed. Cultures use this contrast to explore the tension between desire and inevitability, between the will to ascend and the certainty that all ascents must one day end. For those who wish to explore the stories of Inanna or Ishtar in full, their complete myths are already available earlier on this channel. But here, the point is simple. She was the counterbalance to everything their light promised. Without her, their power would have no boundary. As new empires rose, her influence traveled beyond Sumer and Akkad. In the lands of the Hurrians, a goddess named Alani presided over the dark earth. Her identity slowly intertwined with Ereshkigal's until the two became almost indistinguishable in certain regions. Among the Hittites, the sun goddess of the earth carried echoes of her authority, a divine figure ruling the deep soil beneath the world of men. Even the Akkadians, an older culture still, began shifting the identity of their death god Lelwani from male to female, a transformation many scholars believe was shaped by the spread of Ereshkigal's mythic shadow. Her presence did not fade, it adapted. Cultures did not erase her. They folded her into their own understanding of death, sovereignty, and the unseen. This is the quiet power of the oldest goddesses. Their shape changes, but their essence survives. In the later periods of antiquity, as magical texts began circulating across the Near East and Mediterranean, something unexpected happened. Ereshkigal's name appeared in Greek spells, not as a goddess to be worshipped in temples, but as a force invoked in rites meant to command shadows, protect households, or draw power from the unseen. Her name was not spoken lightly. To call upon Ereshkigal was to acknowledge a presence older than Olympus, one that did not bend to mortal desire. She was not an intermediary, she was an authority. Even then, she was never softened into a gentle figure, never reshaped into a moral guardian. She remained what she had always been, the one who rules where all journeys end. And yet, time continued to reshape her story. Early scholars once believed that Ereshkigal had been dragged into the underworld by Kur, a monstrous force. But newer interpretations of those same tablets suggest a different possibility, that this was not an abduction at all, but a moment of cosmic assignment, a scene describing how she came to govern the realm she would never leave. These contradictions do not weaken her myth, they reveal its age. Stories that survive for 4,000 years gather layers, then shed them, only to grow new ones again. Her tale shifts in the same way light shifts across stone, different at every angle, yet always part of the same shape. As with the legends of Inanna and Ishtar, Ereshkigal's story has been retold, reinterpreted, and reframed across countless generations. No single version stands as absolute. Each reflects the culture that preserved it, the beliefs that shaped it, and the fears that lingered at the edge of its understanding. But through all these shifting images, one truth remains constant. Ereshkigal is the only goddess who never sought the sky. She never chased glory, never demanded temples of gold, never reached for realms beyond her own. Her power was not rooted in ambition, but in presence, the immovable, unavoidable truth that life is only one half of existence. Her throne stands where everything returns, where even gods face the silence they cannot command. She is not the destroyer of life. She is the one who completes it. And for that reason, her legacy endures. This is Legends Reborn, where the past still breathes. If you enjoyed this story and stayed with me until the end, feel free to explore the rest of the channel. Leave a comment about what you loved, or even what you didn't. Every insight helps me grow, refine, and bring these legends back to life with even greater clarity. Your voice shapes this journey, and you are always welcome here.